Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for checking out my YouTube channel today, The Study of Antiquity and the Middle Ages. As always, I'm your host, Nick Barksdale, and today we are joined once again by a very special guest, a very awesome YouTube channel that I'm happy to be affiliated with, and that is World History by a Jew, none other than Seth Fleischman. Seth, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thanks, Nick. It's a pleasure to be back again.
And now, what I'm really excited about is that this upcoming episode, I have yet to do a video on this channel specifically about this subject. Anyone familiar with the Bronze Age, and especially the Bronze Age collapse, knows that ancient Egypt pops up quite a bit in many of the episodes that I have on here, but none of them focus on it specifically. And Seth is here to change that. And so he is going to take us into ancient Egypt and the Bronze Age collapse, and of course, those ever so annoying sea peoples. Seth, thank you so much for coming on today. And now I've got a couple of questions for you to really take us into this. So for my audience, what can they expect you to hit on in this episode?
Well, I happen to be a fan of your channel as well as a contributor, and I noticed as I've been watching your videos on the Bronze Age collapse, which are comprehensive and quite entertaining, and I've learned a lot from them. But I noticed that the Egyptian point of view has seemed to gotten left on the side here, and I felt bad for the Egyptians. Maybe my Israelite forebears will be horrified that I would say such a thing, but I thought perhaps a different take on the Bronze Age collapse would be to look at it from the Egyptian point of view. So that led to a little bit of brainstorming and seeing how it can come about. But yeah, I think I've put together a lecture that those of your fan base of the Egyptology persuasion will be happy to see.
Since you've last been here, my question is, how's your channel doing? How's it growing? What have you experienced so far?
So when I was first on, I had about 80 subscribers, and I really was just starting when you and I met. After you posted my Exodus lecture, my subscriber base doubled within a week. It was around 160, pretty much an even doubling because of you. Since then, it's over doubled again. It's now about 400 or so. This is tiny compared to you professionals, right? I'm not even minor leagues. I'm like rec league. But nonetheless, for my little boutique operation, it's been great to see the growth. I'd love to have more subscribers. I'm not doing this for the money. In fact, you don't even see a Patreon account. There's no place to donate to my efforts. I just want people to watch, enjoy, have a good time, learn a little bit, and that's it. I'm not asking for more than that.
And with that being said, definitely check out the links in the video description below, where I'm going to actually provide a link to his YouTube channel. Click on it, subscribe to it, help him hit 1,000, and let's keep it going from there. So before we begin, we're going to get into a little gritty topic, and that is primary sources. One thing that I like is that you tend to list your sources with every episode. Why do you do that?
First of all, I'll talk with a Southern accent, which means no one out of the Deep South is going to believe me anyway. So that's number one. But really, I just decided I wanted to set my lectures apart academically. And I realized that even when you have very respected individuals speaking on YouTube, with a lot of lectures I enjoy, you don't know where they're getting the information. And it seemed that something I could do very simple that would set my lectures apart would be providing sources. So as you watch my lectures, you'll see every single slide, I have my main sources that I use. And I may not have all the sources on there, but I list enough sources on every slide to recreate that slide. If you look up those sources, you'll be able to find the exact same information to recreate the data that I'm providing. And that's very important to me because, I mean, most people don't know me from Adam, right? Well, I should say most people don't know me from Moses, but point is no one knows who I am. So if I then show that, hey, you know, this information doesn't come from me, it really came from Dr. Eric Klein, I'm just the messenger, you know, don't shoot the messenger. And I believe it adds a lot of legitimacy. And I get, in fact, that's probably one of the most complimented things that I get. A lot of people that, you know, people love the etymology that I do. And people love the way that I'll blend in the biblical aspect with the secular, but right up there with those two would be just people commenting about how happy they are that they can see where my information comes from.
And so another important part, since we just discussed why you provide references and sources for your viewers to explore on their own, let's actually talk about how do you determine what is a good and reliable source?
Well, first I look to see if Chris Rock said it, then I know it's true. And then I see if Jim Carrey said it. And then once I have those two no. So I'm just kidding. But the basic answer is cross-referencing. All right. So I'm always paying attention to sources. In fact, if a book doesn't have a bibliography, I don't even pay attention to it. I don't even pick it up. I mean, well, I pick it up enough to see it doesn't have a bibliography and I put it back down again. And because I'm always looking at where information came from, I start recognizing certain people, certain books. And when I see that the same book or the same person comes up several times in things that I'm enjoying reading, but when I see some source keeps coming up, then I know that this is someone I should be paying attention to. And it's the cross-referencing that is the key for me. Now, I do fine-tune that, like, I will look up on Amazon to see what the reviews are. I mean, I hate to say Amazon is an authority, but I tend to find if something's 4.0 or better, then that gives you some leg to stand on versus something that's like a 2.0 when everyone's tearing it up. But cross-referencing is key. Now, and after a long time, you just build up a pool of reliable sources. So take Egypt, and I've spent an unbelievable amount of time studying Egypt. And any known Egyptologist I now know. I mean, and I don't mean that as bragging. I just mean I've read so much. And eventually, no matter how stupid you are, you're going to start recognizing names. So I can just, if I see writing from someone that I've read before, then I immediately go to them and read whatever their latest research is. So the more you do this, the more you're able to build up a pool from which to trust and a pool from which to research.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for checking out my YouTube channel today, The Study of Antiquity and the Middle Ages. As always, I'm your host, Nick Barksdale, and today we are joined once again by a very special guest, a very awesome YouTube channel that I'm happy to be affiliated with, and that is World History by a Jew, none other than Seth Fleischman. Seth, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thanks, Nick. It's a pleasure to be back again.
And before we jump into this, I've got a few questions to ask because I know your YouTube channel is really starting to grow. You're doing some awesome content. People are really excited for your work. But with a channel expansion, one thing we notice is that there's always going to be some flack, right? And so World History by a Jew, my question is, do you, now that you're growing in popularity, have you noticed a rise in, like, let's say, anti-Semitic comments?
Unfortunately, yes. I can't say it's completely a surprise, but it's disappointing. I'll say when we first met, my subscriber base was really just people from my synagogue and maybe a few people from my community. We're talking like less than 100, like 80 people or so the first time we interviewed. And I knew as we expanded that there's a great thing about reaching a greater audience, but also you start meeting other personalities that you may not have a personal connection with. So let's just say for my community, it then expanded to now I have subscribers from all over the US, all over Canada, subscribers from Israel. And if I haven't mentioned your country and your subscriber, then tell me, because I'd like to know. But I know at least from those 3 countries I have it covered. And so what does that mean in terms of anti-Semitism? Well, most of it are comments that and it can be emails. Typically it's comments on YouTube, but it's stuff you can just roll your eyes, like, all Jews should be killed. I had a guy, one of the most recent ones was, why do you call it World History by a Jew? Because all history is written by Jews. What was it? Another good one. Jews shouldn't be allowed to post on YouTube because they'll corrupt it like everything else. These type comments. Those are fine. And like I said, you just roll your eyes and hit delete. The harder ones are what I would call the educated anti-Semites. And maybe some would say that's an oxymoron, but what I mean are people who have done some research and perhaps taken legitimate research and use it to back up an anti-Semitic point of view. If I had to say what separates it, almost always those type emails or comments include a quote from Professor Israel Finkelstein. And he's a Israeli archaeologist, but he's a many of his public comments have talked about how, that the Bible is completely made up and Jews came in a lot longer, and he's welcome to his opinion, his research. I'm not saying he should be censored. What I'm saying is his comments are then turned around by anti-Semites to be Jews shouldn't be in the Holy Land. It's really the Palestinians. Why are Jews there? Jewish people don't really exist. And it's just all made up, and Dr. Finkelstein proves it. And these sort of comments are a little bit harder to take than just the easy ones that I hit. But it's a tough subject. So let me just say, let me end my thoughts on anti-Semitism with a joke. So guy walks into a bar and he sees his Jewish friend, Bernie Goldberg, reading an anti-Semitic newspaper. And everyone knows an anti-Semitic newspaper. He goes over to Bernie. He goes, "Bernie, why are you reading this rag?" And he goes, "Well, I was reading the Jewish press and it kept talking about synagogues being vandalized and Jews being oppressed and Israel being delegitimized." He was like, "It was all so depressing, I couldn't sleep at night. So I started reading the anti-Semitic newspaper and found out Jews ruled the world. All Jews are wealthy, that we control all the media. And like, I started sleeping much better at night. So I just switched over to read anti-Semitic press." So that's kind of in a odd way of putting it, the way one has to look at anti-Semitism.
So when people reach out to you via email, what kind of reactions do you usually get?
I would say, so we've talked about anti-Semitism. I want to leave that topic. I just want to talk about the positive feedback that I get. So most of it is legitimate questions. The hateful comments are few and far between, really. It's mainly legitimate questions. I'd say about a third are religious related, and I mean that from any religion, but about a third of them are religious related, and then about 2/3 are secular questions. The majority of my content, although some lectures can vary, the majority of my content is secular, right? I only touch on the Jewish aspects. I usually don't focus on it except for a couple of choice lectures. So because of that, that's where the questions come from. Now, I do get rabbinical questions, and by that I mean someone asked me a marriage question one time. I get asked about scriptural interpretation. Some people want to have a disputation, this sort of thing, and I steer away from that. That's not I'm not a rabbi, nor do I pretend to be. It's fun, but I just tell them that's not really my department. They need to go to someone else.
That being said, if y'all ever have questions, you want to pick his brain on a certain historical topic, don't hesitate to reach out to him. He's a really open, friendly guy, and he'd be happy to answer you as best as he can. So let's talk about where you're going. So hit us with some ideas you've got coming about what we can expect to come from you in the future when it comes to content.
I have at least 2 more Bronze Age collapse lectures. That's already proven to be popular, and it's also helped with not only my own channel, but interacting with your channel as well, Nick. So I like doing Bronze Age collapse. It's a very interesting topic. It's just, you've covered so much. It's hard for me to find angles you haven't covered, but I've got a couple on the way. So more really about the Sea Peoples and how the Sea Peoples are in the Bible. You've talked about the Philistines, but I want to take the Philistines from a more biblical angle. So that's coming. In addition, there are other Sea Peoples that are listed in the Bible if you don't realize it. There's actually one group that may have married into a Jewish tribe, so that's coming. And there are others that say are further to the north in the land of Canaan that the Bible calls Philistines, but they weren't, and we can identify who these people were. I'm not giving you the details because I want you to go see the lecture. I said a couple more, but these things seem to change, right? It's a little bit, these lectures are a little bit artistry. I mean, I have the artistic ability of a rock, but nonetheless, there's still a little bit of artistry involved, and they kind of write themselves. Like this whole Bronze Age collapse in the Bible was supposed to be one lecture, and then it became a 3-part series, and now it's a 5-part series. So, I don't exactly know what direction I'll go. But what I really wanted to do is move on to something completely different. After I finished Bronze Age collapse, I've kind of gotten pigeonholed into being an expert on antiquity, which is wonderful. I'm very, it's complimentary, but on the other hand, I'm like a equal opportunity historian. I'll take history from any time, any place. And so I've been in this one area around the Eastern Mediterranean now this whole time. And it's time for me to move to a different time and a different place, maybe Jews in colonial America or Jews in the Roman Empire or something thereabouts. still trying to decide, as you can tell, but I got a few weeks before I need to make that decision.
That'll be absolutely fantastic. Honestly, I know I can't wait, and especially for those other Bronze Age collapse episodes. We all know that I definitely enjoy my collapse, so that'll be excellent. I can't wait. And definitely to my audience again, definitely check out the links in the video description below. They will take you to his channel to where you can explore all the hard work that he does and really take advantage of everything that he has to offer.